Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to On Deck, conversations that are raw and unfiltered for us and by us. Today's conversation, we're going to start talking a little bit about what's happened this week in the stock market with GameStop and the short selling, and talking about, how economics and money and finance, it fuels everything that we need to do and what we need to do, and start talking a little bit more about group economics and topics really arranging around money in our community. But before we get into that, I wanted everyone on the panel to take the opportunity to introduce themselves today. So if we're going to start up from my top right-hand corner, and that would be Miss Minnie Jones first.
Hey y'all, how's it going? I'm Minnie Jones, and the topic is interesting because I don't really know much about it, even though I got robbed with the cow and I ain't really had no issues. You know what I'm saying? I ain't never had no beef with them or nothing. Personally, I don't know what's going on. So I'm definitely excited to learn about what it is that I don't know.
Rob, introduce yourself to the people.
Good afternoon. My name is Robert Jones, a frequent contributor to the On Deck format and platform, and just here to spark the conversation and add my 3.5 and 7/8 cents to the discussion.
All right, and co-hosting and moderating with me this week, Keyshawn, introduce yourself.
Yes, Keyshawn Dodds, Executive Director of the Boys and Girls Club Family Center, author, and ready to have some fun with what just happened over the past 2 weeks. I know me and Hanif have been, in the instant messaging talking about this, and it's been an interesting thing for everybody to see. So I'm ready to hit the road running with this one.
All right, and lastly but not least, Mr. Moss, would you introduce? Well, not like you really need an introduction, but introduce yourself to the people.
My name is Dave Moss, and I don't really know a whole lot. I'm like many, not all that familiar with stocks and bonds and everything, but any conversation or dialogue that's going to stimulate growth and awareness within the Black community, I'm here for.
All right, and Tom just joined us. Tom, introduce yourself to the people out there.
Hi everyone. My name is Tom Shepard. I am I'm a member of the New York City School Board, and I'm glad to be here. Like, let's get it on, right? So I'm good. Thanks for inviting me back again. I appreciate it.
Thank you everyone for introducing yourself. So now, like, this particular topic this week started off with a conversation Keyshawn and I were having as we were watching this going on. We were talking about investing in different things and these different apps and options for investing. And I think it's really important, I'm going to say right away, I'm not a licensed financial person. This isn't my main business. This is something that I know a little bit about, something that I'm passively engaged in. But I think it's an important topic for us to start talking about, because what happened with this situation, revealed for a lot of people who didn't know how a lot of these billionaires, especially these billionaire hedge fund managers, make their money. And for those that may not be aware, GameStop has been in a very precarious position for their business. They're in the process of, they did some restructuring. They're close to going bankrupt. COVID has taken a huge toll on their business. But what was happening is this concept of short selling. I'm going to read you a definition of short selling. Short selling is fairly simple. An investor borrows a stock, sells the stock, and then buys the stock back to return it to the lender. The short sellers are betting that the stock they sell will drop in price. So what was happening is you have this big hedge fund managed by this billionaire who was saying, all right, GameStop, we're betting that they're going out of business really soon. So what we're going to do is we're going to borrow some stock while it's, I think it was around $90 a share. And we're going to write to GameStop and we're going to tell them to buy it back. Well, this fund had been doing this for a while to GameStop. But some people in a Reddit group called Wall Street Bets found out that this fund was short selling GameStop, and somehow they found out exactly how much. So they decided what they were going to do is say, hey, We're going to do the same thing they do, except for we're going to take advantage. Everyone collectively put your money into GameStop. And in a matter of 24 hours, GameStop went from $93 a share to about $200 a share. And then by the end of trading at $400 a share. Most of these people that were buying this stock were buying it through an app called Robinhood. Robinhood cuts out the middleman. You basically link whatever funding source and you buy whatever stocks or crypto you want that's available on Robinhood. This is where this kind of gets interesting, because some of like these billionaires, like people like Elon Musk, who are watching this situation, were like, they're really sticking it to these hedge funds. So I'm gonna join in this game because I know the power of my social media. He put out one tweet and other people started paying attention. So now this hedge fund that started off being worth billions of dollars was losing billions of dollars. It wasn't the only hedge fund. Why that's a big deal is because a group of people basically took what's been going on for years behind the scenes, what the hedge funds have been doing to make billions of dollars off the misery of people, off the, and trying to force companies to basically go bankrupt, and flipped it on their heads. And some people came out of this in 72 hours plus 150,000, 200,000, a couple of people plus $1 million out of this one thing. Now, it needs to be said, as much as it's a great thing, it's also a dangerous thing, because if you don't understand how this works and understand, that GameStop being worth $411 a share, I think is what it topped off at, it's not because of how well they're doing in business, and that stock price is going to go down. So if you're gambling and you're risking, you're going to lose a lot if you don't know what you're doing. That being said, this is kind of like, in a really roundabout way, something that's been going on to our communities for ever. They look at the value that they can get out of it, and when they feel that there's no more value that they can get out of it, they try to push aspects of our community or people in our community to irrelevancy. But with that said, Keyshawn, we've talked a lot about this, so I definitely want to get your 2 cents in, as far as the situation and how this is relative to our community and finances in general.
Right. So for me, I'm just gonna say the same. I'm not an expert on stocks. What happened was COVID, and this is one thing I've always talked about with family and friends. And we've always, you go on vacation and you're looking at these big houses from these multi-millionaires now, and I asked one question: how the hell do they make all this money? And they said the stock market, and I'm like, how is that even possible? You can make this much money. So through COVID, everybody had a lot of time. So I took a lot of time to understand what stocks were. I talked to a few friends, and I went by a few rules that just got me to be comfortable with even putting money in. And the one thing was like, you could buy a pair of sneakers for $80 to $200. Why wouldn't you want to invest that and make money? You can make a return on your money right there, and you can actually build on that. So I'm like, all right, I know for me, I'm not rich. I'm not willing to put money up that I'm not sure about stocks. So it took me some time to learn. So I actually got a stock that was $1. Well, actually it was like 92 cents. And it was on there. I used Robinhood, signed up, and I got, 5 shares at 92 cents. And I watched it over time to see how it goes up and down. Then I started reading up on the company, and I was like, wow, okay, I'm starting to understand what this is. So I started to try to get people in, because I said, there's a lot of people that don't know how to save money, that don't know how to invest, but everybody always has these questions. And the fear is you have to have $5,000, $10,000, $15,000 to start investing. And I'm like, well, no, you can start investing with $1 to $10 to learn the market and get in. So I started breaking this down. So before we get into GameStop, I'm just going over how I got into it and what I send people. And it's just a few points that I put on there. I said, you never risk money that you can't afford to lose. So that's what it is. So you always do that. What that means is if you can afford a cup of coffee or buy a new pair of shoes, like I said, you can put that into a stock. Now, what stock is up to us to kind of figure out where it is in tech, travel, medicine, whatever it is, but even cannabis, but just trying to understand where it is and what you like. So I started with something that I use and like. So I got American Airlines because we travel. I started doing research on that, so I bought 1 share. And you go from there. So you start to learn that way. You don't have to spend a crazy amount of money to get started, and you can literally start with as little as $1, like I said. Because and Robinhood was a great platform for that, because like you said, Hanif, you take away the middleman. You don't have a broker. You can actually sit and learn the market. And then the types of stocks there are some safe stocks that will have minimal growth and minimal gains or losses, but it's always going to have an even keel to keep your money in. Those are kind of safe. And then there's those risky stocks like you have, like a GameStop, that makes getting into the stock market gambling, which I am not a fan of, and I don't want to get involved in. But when you see it happening and you're starting to learn how to buy and sell, that's when you can take a little risk. And I'll get to that GameStop one after I finish this, because this was where it went. And then also you pay attention to the economy and the trends. So when COVID happened, if you look at some of the stocks before COVID, they were at, some were 65, 120, some were 300, some are 1,000. COVID hits, the market shuts down. A lot of them dropped drastically by over 200%, going down to $15, $14, $6. So a lot of people lost a lot of money, but a lot of people, and like right now, the millionaires globally have made their money back and then some. But the people like us, we're still struggling in COVID. But they knew what was happening with GameStop, and everybody else started doing that too, buying low, selling high, and making their money back, and now they're comfortable again. So Robinhood, like you were talking about with Melvin Capital, they were doing this a lot. So we'll talk about the risky part of how people have turned this into a gamble. And it's actually scaring off people that are middle class and starting to learn stocks and be like, you know what? I don't want no parts of this. This is gambling. It's not. We are still being safe. And even we're still being safe. But it's funny as hell to watch, and we learn. And I didn't get in that GameStop. And I'm going to tell you, when I saw GameStop, it was like, I would say 3 weeks, a month ago or 4 weeks ago, it was at $6.69. $6.69 a share. If I would have bought one share and now it jumped up to $350, you're making a profit that quick. But I didn't know why the hell that happened until I started doing the research. There are no regulations on this buying and selling and putting stops on it with these hedge funds that are doing. And so, like you said, the Wall Street group, they found a way to stick it to the big man. And what it did is a lot of people came up real quick on this. And some have been smart and sold. Some are still holding. But it got to a point where when these hedge fund people bought this and tried to say they put a bet, and this is how they made it to gambling. They put a bet that the stock was going to drop and they're going to make their money. And it did drop. But what happened, like you said, like that Wall Street group, they put a squeeze on these hedge funds people, and they pushed this stock up to $300, $400 per share. So they lost hella money very quick. And I'm talking about billions of dollars that they lost. I got it here. It went today's stock with GameStop. If you look at it, is at $320 a share. And that went up from $6, and I literally watched it, and I could have bought it at $38. I was watching this thing that it jumped to $120, and then they tried to buy back to kind of slow the bleeding, and it dropped down to $70. And a lot of people pulled out because they were afraid. But that Wall Street group, that dark web group, kept pushing, and they pushed and pushed and pushed, and it jumped back up to $350 a share. They lost billions of dollars, and on top of that, Robinhood had to start borrowing from the bank so they can cover the cost of what they've done. And so what they did is they try to put regulations on the stocks. So now if you go on to Robinhood, you see certain stocks are called volatile stock. That means you can't just purchase it like we would before. You take money out of your account and you can easily purchase a share, 10 shares, 20 shares. Now you have to wait for your money to clear to go in. So it regulated regular people to go in to try to make sure they can buy those stocks, and you can't. At the same time, these hedge funds people were buying and selling. So they put regulations on us and allowed them to sell, which is completely illegal. Now the state senators are involved, Elizabeth Warren, Ted Cruz, even though I don't like his ass, he's involved because it was like, this is completely wrong because you shut out the little guys that are doing this right and trying to, make their money. but you're allowing these hedge fund people to try to save their asses and get their money back so they can be safe. But there's no regulations on this. So on the top of this, this is the other part that's funny. There's cryptocurrency that's out there. I know people know about Bitcoin, correct? You heard Bitcoin. Bitcoin is going crazy, and it's up to about $33,000 a share. $38,000 a share. If you would have bought that 11 years ago, it was at 6 cents. So if you would have had one share of Bitcoin, you would be making a hell of a profit off of that one share. And so now people saw that, and it was like, you know what? The hell with you in blocking these our stocks that you call them volatile. And that's GameStop, that's AMC, Nokia. Those are the ones that people were looking at. This Wall Street group is like, you know what? We're going to make pushes on that because we know your insider trading is trying to make those things go down so you can buy low and sell high and make your money. So we're going to do the same thing and make you lose even more money. So they put a stop on anybody that can buy those stocks if you don't have a broker and you're not making money. So everybody saw this and was like, there's something that's called Dogecoin, and it's actually like it's a cryptocurrency, but it was less than a penny. It was less than a penny, and it was like, you know what? You can regulate the stocks, but you can't regulate cryptocurrency. So Robinhood had no idea what the hell people were doing, and all they kept doing is they know that Elon Musk, who owns Tesla, has the Midas touch. Anything he tweets, it goes up. GameStop went up because he tweeted about it and everybody bought it because he said, oh shit, y'all sticking to the big man? Good, let's stick it to him together. So now they've been pushing Dogecoin to get the same thing. So this was less than a penny. So people were buying 2,000 shares, 10,000 shares, 500 shares. This thing went from less than a penny up to 8 cents in 24 hours. So if you would have bought, just say for me, I bought in at 1.5 cents. I bought 1,600 shares. It went up to $135 in 24 hours. And I'm sitting here laughing like these people are really trying to kill the market. And then Robinhood, once again, had to go back to the bank. I need to borrow money because people are killing us. So they made it that cryptocurrency now this is a volatile currency, and if you're trying to buy it now, if you're just getting on Robinhood, they won't let you buy it because they are so scared. This is why I put that post on Facebook saying congratulations to regular people, you figured out the market. But now here's the point where me and Hanif and Rob and we're trying to tell everybody this is not gambling. We still want you to get involved and start to understand stocks, understand what volatile stocks are. They're giving you good information. It's like Robinhood 101 on investing 101. What stocks are volatile? What stocks are still, going and growing, but they're not going to be these ones that they're going to pimp out and make gambling. So yes, you have to go in safe. You have to go in and understand, but everything is education. Rob, I know you got your hands up.
Yeah. The other thing is interesting about this is when you look at the Federal Reserve and you look at the SEC, a lot of these people in those positions are old hedge funds folks, old Wall Street folks. Mm-hmm. So they're scrambling to try to figure out how can we, there's a crack in the system.
Yes.
How do we fill that crack up? Because in this country, and you can look at it many different ways, but in simplest terms, there's the haves and the have-nots. And the haves always want to have, and they always want to prevent the have-nots to continue to not have. So one of the things when you talk about the SEC scrambling, the hedge funds people are putting pressure on the SEC and the government because a lot of these folks contribute heavily to each party, whether it's Republican or Democrat. You got to stop this. And a lot of those politicians also are savvy and they buy stocks because they're in the know, because they're tied in with the haves. So as this continues to unfold, it's going to be interesting to see what transpires. It's going to be interesting.
So the biggest thing before you go, Hanif, is what they're doing now, and this is where you have the $1 billion push. They're going to push. They're going to try to put their own type of regulations in to kind of stop people like us that are getting into the stock market to understand and don't want to have that broker, but you just want to put some money away to kind of grow. They're putting regulations on you so you can say, you know what, this is too complicated. I don't want to even understand it. I'm losing money. They're going to try to make you lose money so you can get out, so they can dominate the market again. So this is why right now there's a class action suit against Robinhood for doing what they've done. People are very pissed off, but there's no regulations to anything that's out there. And I know a lot of some of our elected officials that are out there have been saying this for years. They've been getting away with murder, and no one is stopping them. And you know, it's like that movie, The Wolf of Wall Street. That's actually very real on how they do things. They take that money, you know, Bernie made up. That stuff is real. They take your money and invest it. It's a seriously legal but illegal drug game that they're running on people with their life savings. And this is the part where now that they have the tables turned on them, that's that oh shit moment. What do we do? How do we stop? Because they're not just losing $100,000, not even $1 million, $15 billion in a week. Could you imagine? I'm jumping off of the roof, slitting every wrist I got because they're losing this money. And then you got people like us sitting there laughing like, damn, how are you going to recover? They don't even know how to recover. The only way they can recover is push us out and try to get that money back.
Well, that's what this was what kind of makes the Robinhood situation also interesting, is that like when you look at Robinhood as a company, so the hedge fund that was, you know, shorting GameStop was called Melvin Capital.
Yes.
So now what happened because Melvin Capital lost his money is that there's another fund called Citadel that had to loan them money and basically became an owner, a part owner of Melvin Capital. What makes Robinhood stopping people from buying these stocks a problem in this is that a third of Robinhood's income comes from Citadel.
Mm-hmm.
So Robinhood is saying, well, you know, we don't have the money to cover all these things, because the way it works in general is if you put, and this is how it works, not just with Robinhood, but with any brokerage for that matter. Let's say I go to Minnie, and Minnie says, all right, I'm going to invest for you. And we got a link. We have to have a funding source. So I say, I want to invest $500 in stocks A, B, C, and D. Well, Minnie's going to go place those orders, and Minnie's brokerage house is going to cover that $500 until my money gets transferred to her. Now, Robinhood was running out of money. So one of the reasons why they're saying they're doing this for only these volatile stocks is because they're running out of money. But the thing is they didn't stop Citadel from using their, because what Robinhood does, why they can work commission free, is because they'll get Citadel to buy the stock on your behalf. And then when they get the money, you know, they're making the commission from Citadel instead of making the commission from you. So now the rumor is that people feel like Citadel kind of pulled the strings over Robinhood, said, if you want us to continue paying a third of your bills, you need to stop people from buying these stocks so that we can make some money. Because when Citadel bought in, now Robinhood only gave people the option to sell GameStop. Right now, it's still the only option for GameStop is for you to sell. And by selling, because of how high the price is, it drives the price lower. So they're still trying to recoup money. That's what makes this situation interesting, is that a group of people, a group of everyday folks saw what was happening and said, we're going to play your game against you, and use social media to mobilize people to screw these hedge fund managers out of billions of dollars. And like I said, a lot of people came out cash positive. There are some people that have come out cash negative because, you know, they didn't understand what was going on. They just kind of did whatever they thought needed to be done. But
right.
That's like why this, to me, was important to talk about, because it also shows that, you know, the person, here's the other aspect of this, the person who bought out the other half of Melvin Capital, who is now owner of Melvin Capital along with Citadel, is Steve Cohen. Steve Cohen is the owner of the New York Mets. But Steve Cohen was actually, Steve Cohen was actually convicted of insider trading.
Yep.
So, right. So, so you start seeing how these people have been manipulating. They're saying that all the people on Reddit have been engaging in market manipulation, but that's what the hedge funds do. That's how they get it. And in fact, like there's been like the Wolf of Wall Street was actually a true story. And there have been times where these hedge fund managers, what they do is when they're shorting a stock, like they'll literally go out to one of their journalist friends and say, "Hey, I heard a rumor that this product isn't going to be ready to launch on time." And the market, they report that rumor, and then the market says, "Oh my gosh, it's not going to be ready. So their stock isn't going to be worth as much." And they use things like that to help their short selling. So if I'm shorting a stock, so I'm basically Mini owns 500,000 shares in GameStop. I'm saying to Mini, I need you to let me hold 200,000 shares. If the price is $10, I need you to let me hold those 200,000 shares for $10. Now I'm working to say, hey, now GameStop, I've got 200,000 shares of your stock, and you're not doing well. I'm not going. No, it's not going to be $10 this year. You're going to have to sell it to me for $7. So GameStop buys these 200,000 shares at a lower price. I give Minnie her shares back, and I'd have made $3 a share. And so that's like the quick, dirty, non-complicated answer of short selling. And that's what was flipped on their head. GameStop went from $93 to $411 in less than 36 hours.
The most insane jump I've ever seen.
Now, the reason why this story is important for this platform is because if they can do this with the stock market and putting their money together, and a group of people on Wall Street can do this on a regular basis, and then a group of people who are not a part of Wall Street can do this and manipulate the market and make big gains and cause these people big losses, then why can't we take the same group mentality when it comes to the economics of our neighborhoods?
Absolutely.
We can take this mentality and things we learn and start learning about investing and how to invest versus gamble. But why can't we take the same group mentality and say, okay, you know what? Minnie just went from, I'm using Minnie a lot as an example, saying, all right, Minnie just decided, you know what? My online jewelry business is doing so good that I think I need to open a storefront. Minnie opens a storefront. So why don't we collectively say, all right, everybody, Minnie, in our community, storefront, all right? We want to make sure that Minnie's store is successful, all right? So we've got to collectively make sure that we're purchasing from Minnie. Minnie says, I want to invest in my community. I just found out that Tom over here actually makes some of the jewelry that I would normally buy wholesale from this place halfway across the country, and it's the same kind of stuff. It may be at a bit more of an expensive price, but I can still make a good profit if I buy from Tom. So Minnie says, you know what, Tom? I'm going to start a new contract with you. I'm going to buy wholesale. Here's what's going on. Keyshawn happens to have a delivery business, and we're in the era of COVID, and people are like, man, I want to shop Minnie's store, but COVID, and I'm not sure. But Keyshawn was like, well, I got this delivery business. We could work this out. I mean, it's not going to be a DoorDash kind of deal. We could work this out so that we can make sure things go on. See, and this is how we take this group mentality and we support everyone's business. I mean, we talk about Black Wall Street, about how amazing it was, but we forget to talk about what they did that actually made it amazing.
Exactly.
So that's why I wanted to bring this conversation, to talk about what happened.
Do you mind if I add one thing?
Yes, of course.
I think, just watching that whole thing play out, right? I think the one thing that's really got Wall Street shook, right, is the fact that if you can do this and turn like the whole thing on its head with a company like GameStop, right? Like, you can technically do it with any company, right? Like, you can sit back and just randomly pick a company and say, let's short sell and drive the price up, right? And, it's almost, for lack of better words, it's like ordinary people being kind of like like a Wall Street thug, right? And really just kind of walk in and control and just like running the joint. And the problem is they found a way to be able. It was like it's like a little loophole, right? And and really found a way to just, and like I said, GameStop it just happened to be the company that they picked, right? But it could have literally been any company. It could have been an airline. It could have been, it could have been a tech. It could have been anybody, right? But but I think the part that really has Wall Street shook is the fact that they realize that they don't have the type of control, right? That they don't have the control anymore that they always had, right? And I think that's part of the problem why there's some other things in this that need to be changed. For example, the whole process, and I think you were talking about a minute ago, that the way that these firms work is they will execute trades on your behalf, right? And like your money that you put into the account actually has to go through a process with the Federal Reserve. It's actually, oddly enough, called settling up, right? So, like you have to put your money in, and then your money got to go through the system and settle, right? It's like you got to like settle up before you can get paid, right? And you were talking about cryptocurrency, and I think that's one of the interesting reasons why you have folks that are kind of shook when we're having conversations about now taking or using the whole idea of cryptocurrency and blockchains in this, right? Because you can literally have instantaneous transactions, and processes that took 5 days, right, can now happen instantly. So you can have ordinary people run into a system, right, and drive up the price of, a company like GameStop from, $5 or $6 a share to $1,000 a share, and actually do it instantly, right? Because you don't have to wait to the end of the day for the brokerage firm and the Federal Reserve to kind of balance things up, right? Or start to settle things up. These things can happen instantly. And when you do that, now any company in the market now becomes literally a target, right? And it's that thing that kind of makes people it's that thing that kind of makes people start to question, like, sort of how all this works, and whether or not, right, or understand that it's a system designed over time, because the rules are still 50 years old, right? But it's a system designed over time, right, to make some people, or very few people, or institutional investors, very rich, right, while it impoverishes everyone else. Like, I look back and think about things like 401ks, right? Like, back last year when I left Apple, right, I had about $20,000 in stock. And, I left Apple in February, right? So from February to March, for 1 month, I could not touch my money, right? Touch that stock. And all I wanted to do was pull out Apple and reinvest in something else. And when COVID happened, right, guess what? I watched the value of my stock fall 50% and wasn't able to touch it. Meanwhile, if you're an institutional investor, you can put in and take out at will. Meanwhile, I got to sit around for 30 days and literally watch half of my investment dry up. So this whole thing has exposed that, right? So now that people don't have to sit around and wait 30 days for to move their money around. They don't have to wait 4 or 5 days, that they can make these transactions and see the results of their transactions happen almost instantly. Wall Street is shook right now. So I wanted to throw that in there because it does have real world implications on really just sort of the economic engine of this country and the way that it works.
Yeah, Tom, you're exactly right. You're exactly right when it comes to that, because this is exactly what you were talking about with that Apple stock. This is why Robinhood is in a class action lawsuit with people now, because they have put a pause on people from buying when they can actually put money in and make money. And like Hanif said, all you can do is sell right now if you have it. And if you have those stocks, it's locked in. So they put regulations on us. While the hedge funds and these $1 million people are still able to buy and sell stocks, the stock market didn't stop. These stocks didn't stop getting bought and sold. It was just halted on us, on these platforms that we use, because we are not their big money ticket. We're not the ones that they have to address and deal with every day. So they're going to put a hold on us because, like you said, it could be any stock. And trust me, because there's no regulations and because I know they're going to have class action lawsuits, they're going to pick another stock. That's why they had listed AMC, Nokia, BlackBerry. All those ones are listed as volatile, and now they're trying to put that listing on some cryptocurrency because they want people to hold off, because not only are the hedge fund people losing money, but the platforms are losing money. They have to continuously borrow money to cover. And so this is how it's became more like, okay, we're taking the shirts off of these people. We've understood. And what is actually done, and like what many and everybody else that I know is like, Keyshawn, I want to know about stocks now. Yeah, this is the time to learn, because I want to make sure that everybody has woken up and see how corrupt they are with their money. They become instant millionaires, instant billionaires off of the backs of us because they know the game. And I was talking with Michael Connolly, and also Lisa, she's on here too, about just learning stocks. So I put up various posts, and Hanif, we both go back and forth. And I just want people to understand that, yeah, I'm a novice, but we have people that are doing some great things that look like us, that know how to invest. Lisa Thompson, she just put up, she made $22,000 in 1 minute on an option call. Now, everybody's like, what's an option call? So I know me, I'm like, what's an option call? So I will ask Lisa Thompson to come and explain that on my page. And so many people are starting to become knowledgeable about the stock market. You don't have to have a master's degree in business management or economics. You can learn right from your computer with people that are right next to you. And that's what I've been doing. And so I wanted to make sure that people understood how this works and how the minds of these people are. And all it is us breaking down their language and understanding how to buy and sell and understanding the economy and economics and also business. That's it. And like Hanif said, Wolf of Wall Street, oh, this thing is not going to be ready yet. Now, take, for example, Pfizer. They created a vaccine, correct? Before it came out, Pfizer was at $41 a share. You would expect, because they have put this vaccine out and all of the things that are going to be placed, it's going to be around global, that their stock will go up, correct? You would think it would go up, right? It actually dropped $6. It dropped $6. It's at $35 or $34 per share now because the people short sold it. They sold and made money because it lost money. So the investors that had stock in Pfizer, they dropped it. So now they've made money off of a vaccine. When you think that stock will go from 41 to maybe 60 to $80, it dropped. And I'm sitting here and I bought a share just to watch. And I was pissed because I'm like, hold up, I don't understand how this dropped. They just put this out. This doesn't make sense to me. So I started asking questions. And we started understanding all of this stuff is, oh, they sold this so they can make money. So it's been stuck at $36, $35 since the vaccine was produced and delivered out. So they've made money off of this. And so I know a lot of other people have looked at that, and that's how they got in with GameStop. And we was like, you know what? We're going to make sure they pay for that because we lost money, and, you know, we're going to make them pay. So from losing a few $100s or whatever that people have lost, they made them lose billions because they found out what the system is and how it works. So Manny, I know you're on, and I just want to know what your reaction is, because I know you said you're not too versed on this, but what was your reaction when you saw all of this happening and everybody around you like, what the hell's happened with GameStop?
It's all like interesting to me, and my mind is just going, making all these connections. So I was over here taking notes, and I wanted to mention, you know, people, you do have the option to purchase partial shares on a lot of these platforms too. So if something is like, you know what I'm saying, $900 a share, $1,000 a share, you don't necessarily have to buy a whole share. You can't do partial shares on a lot of these platforms. And I thought at the time, way back when I started Forex trading, and I was watching all these training videos, and when it came down to open up my accounts, I had to wait a couple days. So in those couple of days, as I'm watching all these transactions going and stuff, when my account was finally available, I just went crazy. I'm on these training Zoom, just grabbing all these trades and everything. I was just so anxious, and I lost a lot of money because I was gambling. You know what I mean? I didn't take I didn't follow the process that was laid out because I was so anxious and ready to get in the game. And that's what made it gambling. You know, when you're trained, it's not gambling. That training is what mitigates the risks of you losing money. It's not going to eliminate it, but it's definitely going to mitigate that risk. And I just love watching this unfold because we're in the middle of a cyclic major paradigm shift. If you look at where we were in this country 100 years ago, the same things were happening. Everything is shifting. Consciousness is shifting. You know what I mean? Economics is shifting. Wealth classes are shifting. And being in the middle class, you know, it's a trap. The middle class is a trap. We're the ones who get squeezed the most when things change. So we're shifting, and you can go either way. It's up to you. It depends on how conscious you are, how much attention you're paying to what's going on. And it just reminds me of so many things. Strategy is what helps the underdog win. You know what I'm saying? You could think of the Maroons in Haiti and Emperor Menelik in Ethiopia fighting off devils and winning, and even Vietnam being outnumbered, being outdone, but having a strategy and winning. The strategy is what makes the difference. So when you talk about this dark web group and I just think about how many people are fighting, you know what I'm saying, to push along the shift that's happening and how it's happening on all fronts. You know, people are fighting everywhere, fighting back and really all about liberation. And then I thought about, you know, the concept of leverage. When we understand and apply the concept of leverage and apply that to our strategy, we will win. So taking what you have and leveraging things so you can move things along and manifest your own reality, like how the Maroons in Haiti said, we know the land. We out here in the jungle all day, every day. They don't know we hopping out of trees on them. They ain't never gonna see us coming. That's leveraging what you know in order to manifest your reality and come out victorious. So we gotta pay attention, and we have to put each other on. 50 Cent, when he did his Get Richer Triumph album years ago, he was paid in Bitcoin. I don't know if he put anybody on. Know what I mean? I don't know if there's somebody, there could be people making deals like that right now that we're not aware about. But we gotta help each other out. You know what I'm saying? We have to leverage our information so we can liberate the people, because that's the only way to do it. Imagine if he would have told us. Imagine if he would have put it in a verse. Maybe he did. I don't know. If he said, yo, just go buy Bitcoin, everybody go buy Bitcoin. It's just like he did with vitamin water or whatever the hell. We would be rich right now. And also understand, as a part of the strategy, is when the underdog starts catching up, they're gonna move the finish line. Just like they invented the 3-point line. You know what I'm saying? They're gonna, so you gotta expect to see that coming. But we just gotta keep hitting them and keep hitting them and keep hitting them, and because we have the blueprints. You know, there's nothing new under the sun. We don't necessarily, even though we are innovators and inventors, we don't have to necessarily reinvent the wheel. You know what I'm saying? That's our technology. Exactly. So we always had the know-how and the sense of labor, but now with technology, we're plugged in on the back end also. There's no excuses. And even the stock market itself is built on ancient principles and ways of doing things. You know what I'm saying? So it's a great time to be Black. Now, I mean, it's a great time to be alive. It's even a great time to be broke, because there's just so much changes going on and so much is being brought to light that all we got to do is just pay attention. You know what I'm saying? To pay attention is to be aware, is to be alive. I mean, it's a great time to be alive because it's very profitable.
Yeah, I want
to. Do you if I add something? I don't mean to be, I don't mean to throw kind of like water on this sunshine, or water on this, or cloud on this sunshine, right? But I sit back and I think about just historically, like I try to put all of this into some kind of historical context, right? And I think of companies historically and the way they made money, and they made money the way that you described earlier, right? So there's some sort of good or service, and there's an infrastructure that's built to provide that, and the company made money, right? And then they created stock, and that stock went into a market so that people can invest in it to make it, give them more capital to be able to provide goods and services, right? What I've discovered or learned is nowadays you have companies that historically have done that. I'm going to use General Electric as an example, right? General Electric historically made money by making light bulbs, right? And making refrigerators and washing machines and dryers and televisions, right? But General Electric makes most of its money now by manipulating money in a stock market, right? And when we talk about institutional investors, we have to be clear about who the institutional investors are. And I say all of that because this market was never designed for us to succeed in, right? We didn't have any part of writing the rules. We don't have any part in manipulating those rules, right? Like, we'll learn some loophole and figure out in a short term a way to make it work for us, right? But we're not the regulators. So what's going to happen is the same kind of thing that Robin Hood did to lock us out will then become the law, right? So that we can't, wholesale buy stock in anymore, or we're locked out of those. I see the rules changing in such a way where there might be some short-term benefit or a quick buck to make, right? But if you talk about systems built on racism, systems of racism are durable, right? And what happens is they will change the rule to lock us out in a different way. So I say that just to be clear that we can get while the getting's good, but I just don't feel like it's going to always be good.
Oh, you're absolutely right. I mean, this is the biggest thing. I know, Rob, I'm going to give it to you in a second, but that's why my biggest thing is I want people to understand and how to understand the stock market and seeing what's happened because regulations that are put in place right now are not for the hedge fund people. They're going to be for people that are not brokers. They're going to be for people that look like us, that have gotten in the game, that have understood that their knowledge, this isn't as hard as people made it seem to be. And so the regulations are put on us, not the hedge fund people. There's still going to be loopholes for them to get away with what they're doing because so many people pocket off of this. This is blue collar, but they're blue collar crimes that they can usually get away with, unless you're like a Bernie Madoff that's really, really caught out there. But they're going to continuously make regulations for us, not for them. So you're right. Like us getting involved now, the more of us, that's the one thing, the more of us are involved. They never expected regular people like us to get that involved in the stocks and to understand and learn and to push one stock up, knowing there's no regulations on it, that we can do it with any other stock. And now you'll start to see if you have 1,500 people or even 2,000 people buy a stock, that instantly becomes a volatile stock on certain platforms. So now they've made it hold. If you don't have the money that's already invested in your portfolio to buy it, you cannot. You have to wait for it to clear because everybody's pushing that's they buying it low and getting that price to go up very quickly, and then they're selling and making quick money. So this is the game that's been played, but the regulations, like you said, Tom, is going to change very quickly because billionaires are losing money. Rob, go ahead.
Yeah, to kind of amplify what Tom and Minnie were saying, a lot of these systems, Wall Street was created off the sales of black bodies. And when you look at like a lot of these institutions, you look at these great colleges, these colleges that have been around, that have historic cachet. You look at built in, formed in 1700 something, 1800 something. Well, what was going on during that time? So this whole Wall Street thing, this whole stock market thing, this whole financial mechanism is driven by Black folks. When you look at retail, and many was talking about 50 Cent, Master P was talking about kind of castigating rappers who were still supporting Gucci and Louis Vuitton and all this other stuff. And then there was another app that Black people made, the owners of that app billionaires. I can't remember what that app was. Clubhouse, the Clubhouse app. Yeah. So he was talking about that. These manufacturers and these retailers, they look at the Black community. They look at Black Americans to see the trends. And then they'll put all kinds of money in marketing and advertising around it, whether it's retail, whether it's the automotive industry, whether it's the clothing industry, whether it's the perfume makeup industry. We drive all that, but we don't make any money from it. And like what Hanif was talking about in his opening, was talking about the collective economics. How can we leverage this and take advantage of it? We have to support Black businesses now more than ever, because there's a lot of people who are going to be getting a green light coming into this country with a whole bunch of executive orders, but that's for another conversation. And the main purpose for that is to mitigate the impact of the Black vote. Let's get all these other people who practice anti-Black racism and sentiment from coming from those countries to come here, and then we're going to get their vote, because Black people we're waking up. We're waking up, and create institutions and to hand them down to our kids and not just sell out on the first dollar. When Bob Johnson sold BET, I mean, I don't know the details of that sale, but he sold BET. Remember FUBU, Forrest Bias, those cats sold. What was the dude from New York? I used to rock his jeans. Carl Kanai. Carl Kanai. He sold. Cross Colors was another. They sold. It's like, let's stop building institutions and opportunities and keeping it so we can pass it down. So when we're sitting, Lil Wayne sold. So when we're sitting at the dinner table, we're having conversations about business, like some of these folks in this country do when they sit at the dinner table and their kids are working at the family business. Those conversations are dramatically different than people sitting at the dinner table who have a job.
Right. So Emma, she says, before you go on, Hanif, you got to seize the opportunity when it presents itself strategically, and you've got to be organized and ready. And I think that's what Rob, Tom, and Minnie are really talking about in Hanif, when you were talking about the collective economics and going in, using our resources. We have to make sure that we're ready. Like, this is the biggest opportunity for all of us to understand how to seize an opportunity. And it's learning from the stock market, and not treating it like it's gambling, but also understanding how business works and how economics work on the higher level of these people, millionaires and billionaires, making their money. See, I'm the executive director at the Boys and Girls Club Family Center. So I have a business. I have a nonprofit organization. I'm making it a collective effort to use Black-owned contractors, Black-owned marketing, Black-owned everything, so I can make sure that we keep our money circulating in our community. I made a collective effort to do this because I saw that we can feed each other to make each other successful. But it's not because, I'm boxing people out. No, I see that the structure of how business works is, Daryl knows, and Rob, we had a meeting with economic development. We can't find Black contractors. We can't find Black painters. We can't find X, Y, and Z. And we have a list of them, but you don't give us the access to get them, or you try to short sell or get their prices low so they cannot afford to do the project because it costs more money for them to do. So we got to flip the script and make it work. So in just case in point, there's a new newspaper out there that is going to do marketing, and they have great stories. And I'm talking to the person that owns the company, and it was like, oh, well, my prices aren't there yet. I can give you a discount. And my response, I ain't asked for a damn discount. So here's the money that I'm gonna give you because that's what I pay for sponsorship with Channel 22 or Channel 40. That's going to you. So we're gonna move from there. We're not gonna short sell ourselves. We're not gonna go into a business and ask for a hookup or a discount because we can't short sell ourselves. We got to pay full price like we would when we go to any other place. We got to use the resources and pay full price so people understand they have to eat. And there's one of the best posts that I see that's out there. If my friend opens a t-shirt business and his t-shirt is $30, I'm paying $30. That's how we got to look at it. We can't look for the discount unless that person says, you know what, you buy 5 t-shirts, I'll give you 10% off. That is the type of thing that can work because they're going to make their money. And you have the money to spend with it. So we have to do that. The same thing when you're learning about the stock market, how me and Hanif will go and just say, hey, what stocks are you looking at right now? Oh, I'm looking at X, Y, and Z. But the question is why are you looking at this? Oh, well, I'm looking at this one because I see that in the future they got an opportunity to do X, A, B, and C. Oh, okay. So, he said the price point is this low right now, and it jumped up, 5-10 cents in 3 days. Oh, okay. So it's knowledge. You're getting that information and how to track and learn from the stock market to local business to what we're doing. So we have to make sure that we pull that information and that knowledge base and give it to everyone else. Go ahead, Rob.
To piggyback off what you were saying, and I might go off on a little tangent here. It's refreshing when you go into a black business. When I go into a black business, the first thing I say is, I'm not looking for a hookup. I want to pay you a fair market price. Because sometimes you're dealing with black business owners and they're like, oh, is this dude going to come in looking for a hookup? I take that consternation right off the table. I'm here to support a black business. I'm going to pay the cost. The other thing is, in terms of supporting black business, there's a lot of people eating off of us.
100%.
Black community's got to realize that, and don't let anybody make you feel bad or ashamed of saying, oh, you're being divisive, or what that's racist if you're supporting black business. But you don't know what the definition of racism is. But listen, everybody's eating off of us and we're allowing it. We have to stop doing that. We need to support each other collectively as collective economics, mental health, looking out for our kids, looking out as a black man speaking, looking out for our black women. We have to start doing things black, not minorities, not people of color, not black and brown, not disadvantaged, malaligned.
Oh, we lost him. Right when he see the government shut Rob down, Hanif.
Actually, I want to add one thing to that, right? And I think it's more of a direct answer to Emma's question, right? One of the problems historically with black businesses and supporting black businesses is capital, right? Like I have a small leather goods company, right? But guess what? I don't have the capital to really build that business the way that I want, right? So what I've been thinking about as a direct answer to Emma's question is something I said earlier, kind of like jumping in, getting while the getting's good, because rules about to change, right? So if we know that banks are not lending us money in the same way and at the same rate as it does white businesses, right? Then what we should be doing is taking advantage of this system to siphon as much out of it as we can, right? And then turn around and took what we siphoned out of it and put it back into our own companies and businesses, right? So that we can begin to grow, right? Because if banks are not going to give us the money, then in some ways it's like this is kind of presented an opportunity for me to come in and take it from you, right? And then once I took it from you, I'm going to give some of it back to my own so that we can grow, right? Because if you've eaten off us all these years, I'm going to take a little bit of that back and give it to mine so we can grow, right? And then we ain't got to worry about you eating off us no more because we did what we needed to do. And I think I wanted to answer Emma's question like that because earlier I did say that I didn't want to come in and throw cloud on the sunshine, right? But I do understand that there is an opportunity for us to be able to take something out of that system and turn it into something that works for us. And so I wanted to add that little piece to it.
I think the big thing that we have to realize with all of this, and I think if we're really paying attention to every aspect of this whole situation, that from my perspective, there's multiple aspects. There's one, what actually happened? The little guys cost the big guys billions of dollars. The big guys responded, restricting the little guys, and they're still losing because they were hoping that by restricting, they felt people were going to sell their positions, and they needed GameStop to go down to like $100 and something, and it still stayed at like 320. So there's that aspect. But here's the other aspect of it that I think is more important than that. It's that they collectively pooled their knowledge together. They looked at all these different places, all these different sources to get knowledge, and they pulled their knowledge together and said did what they had to do to not only stick it to this business, but to make some money. So there's that aspect of it as well. Like Tom, you were talking about, business funding and how some banks won't, lend to some of our businesses, but we don't pay attention to the fact that there's so many forms of business funding now. There's micro loans, there's different grant opportunities. And depending on how your business is structured from a legal perspective, it's easier for you to get $1 million business loan than it is a $200,000 mortgage. But that's also how your business is structured. So it's the knowledge that was used to get to where we are today when it comes to, the whole GameStop situation. So from that perspective, it's how do we now not leverage knowledge just about stock markets, but how do we look at finding all these pockets of knowledge to leverage for our community economic development in general? And that was the biggest point for me, is that collective knowledge and leveraging it together. Keyshawn and I was using a couple of times, like, hey, I'd be like, hey, Keyshawn, what you looking at right now? This is what I'm looking at. This is why I'm looking at it. This is what I think its prospects are. And so we share that knowledge with each other because we're both kind of new at this game, and we're trying to make sure that everyone is, that's participating in this game, learns a little something. But man, each and every one of us on this panel knows something about some aspect of business in a variety of industries that if we pulled our resources together could make a huge difference in all of our communities. And I think that's the greater lesson to hold, is round that knowledge up, make it available. Let's use it to better everybody.
Right.
All right.
You had something?
Yeah, we're at the 1 hour mark, so we don't want to keep clipping that and going. We don't want to go over that mark. But I am going to ask you guys a question. I love the information. Again, I wasn't all that familiar with what took place at Robin Hood. When I think of Robin Hood, I think of the white guy with the green outfit and the bow and arrow. Keeping it real. So let me ask you, how do you take all this information that you guys are sharing? Because people are having this conversation across the country. As you guys are talking, I'm working on another project, but I'm also Googling to see what other people are talking about. And everybody's talking about this. So from a practical perspective, how do we take all this information that you guys are sharing and disseminating with all of our viewers and turn this into a practical application? Like, what would be the first step? Go ahead, Hanif. And then if you guys can also just kind of integrate that into your closing thoughts, that would be awesome.
Yeah.
The first step is realizing that all of this we're talking about when it comes to investing, that there's two aspects of this. There's the gambling. I'm trying to make the short money real quick. And there's the investing for the long term, investing to create, another lane of cash flow. It doesn't cost a lot for people to start. The point is to start. Get yourselves on one of these apps. Find a broker if you don't want to get on one of these apps, and just look at, as Keyshawn said, he started with something he uses every day. Look at something that you use every day that's traded. There is a lot of information you can find out native to these apps that you can Google. Morningstar is a good site that talks about a lot of these things, but you can just look out and find what's going on. There's YouTube videos about all these different things, but start there. Just start and know that your knowledge can continue to grow. You can use the tools in the app, but you can also read. I mean, the Wall Street Journal hasn't stopped publishing. And, integrating that with my closing remark is that the most important thing for us to do is to take all these things that we're talking about and get it from just these conversations we're having both in our homes and online to what we're doing every day. if you go to Starbucks in the morning to buy a cup of coffee, take a week off and put that into some stock.
There it is.
Okay. Thank you. Tom, you're up. Closing thoughts.
Okay. I think for a closing remark, I would just say that no matter what we do, have a goal. Right? Like there's a reason why you want to do any of this, right? And it's not, for me, it's not about necessarily just kind of jumping in and making money, right? It's about, being able to do something that I can build and give to my kids, something that, no matter what happens to this market, right? Like my kids have something that they can hold on to, something that they own, something that belongs to them, right? And if these types of investments and understanding the system in that way allows us to be able to set that kind of future up for our kids and ourselves, right? But collectively, if it allows us to set those things up, then great. But one thing we'll always tell people is no matter what you do, understand it's a system not designed for you, so be careful.
Okay. Thank you, Tom. Keyshawn.
All right. So closing thoughts. My biggest thing is it's education and understanding that just with the stock market, there's a lot of resources like Hanif said is out there, but there's a lot of people on the same wavelength of you as being a novice. I don't consider myself nothing but a novice, but somebody that has the fortitude to pick up my computer, look at some videos, read some articles, and understand the market. And then, the best way to do it is to learn. And how do you do it? Start with something small. And I did. So from the knowledge that I took from the past 6 to 8 months, that's what I put out there. I'm not saying my way is right, but from the knowledge that I had and the one step that I used is helped me to see a 98% gain on the money I invested. That rule is never risk money that you can't afford to lose. So I've never tried to turn the stock market to a gamble to make a quick fix. There's a lot of people that are out there that are very upset they didn't jump on this GameStop and turn their money over tenfold. I'm not. I took it as a lesson learned to understand that this market can be dangerous, and it can actually make you lose your shirt if you're not knowledgeable. So for me to sit back and watch, it was understanding what the market does, and then I can spread that information to other people, and then they can come back. If you go on my page, there's so many people like Lisa who can tell you what a call option is and how she makes it. I don't get jealous if I see somebody make money. My idea is, okay, how did you do that? What does it mean? How do I do that to be comfortable if I'm ready to make that jump? And more than you would ever think, there are so many people willing to give those answers to you. This is not a hidden secret for us. It's a hidden secret for those hedge fund people because they want to keep their money tight. But for us, it's for us to learn. And then we got to figure out a way to turn that collective knowledge into supporting our own businesses and making them grow the same way. So this is step one, and I know it's going to be a long way to go, but this is how we're going to continue to grow and be economically sound moving into the future.
All right. Thank you, Keyshawn. Ms. Jones.
All right. So, Black people are the most entrepreneurial group in America. We are doing the most business planning, opening, starting, managing than any other group. But our businesses are also failing at a rate more alarming than any other group in the nation. And I attribute that to what I like to call the lack of ABCs: access to capital, basic education, and community support, because only 2% of Black consumer dollars go back to the Black community and Black businesses. Imagine if we can change that to 5%, 7%, 10%, 12%, all the way up to 100% if possible. That'll make a big difference in our situation, because we got 99 problems and money will solve 80 of them and facilitate the solving of the rest. So find recession-proof ways to make your money work for you. Whether it be real estate, stocks, forex, automated systems, and let it be something that you're passionate about. Because if you don't have a big why or a big purpose, when things get tough, when you get frustrated, when you get stressed, that big why is going to be what propels you forward. And it's not just enough to be a Black business. Master your craft so you can produce a high quality of products and services. Because I don't give a damn if my friend is selling $30 t-shirts, if it's not fitted, if it's not a nice material, and if it's not going to last 2 washes. You understand what I'm saying? So you have to have a high quality of products and services if you're going to be successful. Because we want all the Black dollars, but we want everybody else money too. And we got to be competitive, especially in this day and age. And I also wanted to talk real quick about the scarcity complex. We suffer from a scarcity complex, and that's thinking that there's not enough food to go around. And a lot of people are stingy with it now. People be stingy with their symbols. I learned that when I started. That people don't like to tell you, and there's just people that do. And so I'm just with those people who don't suffer from that scarcity complex. There's enough food, but they print money. You understand what I'm saying? And if we get to that point, mentally, we can decide for ourselves what money is and what has value and what doesn't when we begin to understand our power and start leveraging our skills and our resources. And this is the time where millionaires and billionaires are born, by the masses. So don't let this train leave the station.
Thank you, Minnie. Mr. Jones, no relation.
Yeah, everybody had some great closing points. The only thing I would repeat is the education piece. Pull yourself away from that TV. If you can tell or know who's sleeping with who from the Real Housewives of Atlanta, or every word from some of these rappers out here, or all this entertainment news, pivot from that and get into news that's going to build you and uplift you financially. I think the first start, do you have life insurance? And if the answer is no, then you need to get some damn life insurance and get it now. And then you go from there, buying some stock, real estate, etc. But it's about education. Everything can't be entertainment. Most of us have families, people that we love, people that care about us, that support us. The best way to show and honor them is to have a life insurance policy, so you're not doing a GoFundMe on social media platforms. That is a wealth building tool. So,
all right, thank you. Hanif, Keyshawn, thank you guys for hosting and moderating today. Phenomenal. The information, wow, kept me engaged the entire time. People think that all we talk about is social justice, not realizing that everything ties into white supremacy, racism, and systemic racism. As we talk about economic development, building and accruing of financial wealth and capital, everything's a part of that race, and there's obstacles everywhere. But sticking to the point, if you have Cash App on your cell phone, Cash App has that little thing. If you just hit the little symbol for stocks, bonds, and investments, you can invest $5, $2, $3 via Cash App. They also have this cute little option which tells you all about, your first stocks, and it breaks down investing in stocks. It breaks it down for like a 5th grader. So if you don't know, there's really not an excuse not to know what everybody is talking about. And I'm embarrassed because I wasn't all that familiar, and I had this somebody's texting me saying, go to Cash App and look at the stock buying option. All the information is there. They break down what investments are, breaks down what stocks are, breaks down how to invest in stocks. So look at your Cash App. If you don't want to take the time to go to Google, look at your cell phone, look at the Cash App option before you send me $30 and, read into it. There's just so much information that we should be sharing with our families, and this right here is a part of that. If you don't know, form a group. Start a book club, start a research club, start an investment club. Do whatever it is you feel you need to do. Just make it happen. Let's just eliminate all the excuses and let's make it happen. Everybody, thank you so much for another engaging episode here on Deck.
Oh, Keyshawn got something.
Finger up. I thought he was in church because he did the church thing. And Keyshawn, before you go, I just want to read what Emma wrote. And Emma's always dropping jewels. She said, I started doing with my little girls 3 years ago. We used our family change jar and said that we would invest it to try and increase our vacation spending money. we've never made less than $1,000 in a year. And my kids are growing up with the language, so that they can go into adulthood as smart investors. And I tell you, if there's a language to learn, this is the language. Forget your colonizers' language. Throw all that to the side. This is the language to learn. Emma, I think that's really dope. I wish I had done that when my kids were young. Keyshawn, you're up.
Yeah, D, I can't leave without making sure that we do this right. We know we have the Metro record that is out here, and we also have On Deck, and we have a lot of these shows that we do that Daryl hosts throughout the week. That gives you music and poetry and also social justice and also healthy eating. And so we need to make sure that we collectively support this business and making sure that we do it right. We have the Cash App. You have PayPal that you can donate $10 right to control the narrative. You can do it right now at Cash App. At $10, your name will be mentioned. It'll be put on the Metro Record app website as a donor. We want to make sure that we push that we support our own. And this is how we do it. We don't go on here to get paid. We do this to share information from Springfield to Connecticut to New York to Louisiana and everyone that we have from our guests that are going to be on here to give you a deep, in-depth look at how we are seen in this country. And we have the great voice coming from the Metro Record, from On Deck and all the other shows. So please, once again, go to Cash App, type in the $ control the narrative, put in $5, $10, $20, and make sure that we support the business today. Thank you.
All right. And with that being said, we want to say good night, everybody. And we'll be back taking 2 weeks off. We'll be back with all new topics, brand new conversation, and we'll be hitting you the way that we always do. Much love, everybody. Peace.
Thank you, Nostradamus. That's you, Keyshawn.
Have a good day, everyone.
God's walked in.
Rejoice!